Hi everyone. Let Artists Be Artists came from COVID shutdown, and part of our team had the privilege of being furloughed, and we realised that artists were just not going to get that. So we redirected some of our programming money and got some partners together, and we churned out very, very quickly Let Artists Be Artists. And what we would like to see is a change in the way artists are loved, respected, employed across the whole of the sector. Let Artists Be Artists Round 2 is our second iteration and is going to last for 2.5 years. It's a blueprint. Nobody is telling us how to do this. We're sort of learning as we go. And we're really excited about the dialogue that we can have with artists who want to come on that journey with us.
So you will all have seen the opportunity, and I'm sure read through some of the criteria about who we're looking for. But we are going to be employing 3 artists, 1 full-time and 2 part-time, on a salary of 30k pro rata. The reason that is that period of time is because we wanted to see, as EJ was talking about there, about what could happen if it was longer. But also we were able to secure funding through the Arts Council through our uplift this year for this scheme, which is very exciting that they are supporting this. I think we will probably open it up, EJ, unless you want to add anything else about
Yeah,
the.
I'm just going to maybe quickly talk about the process, just
Yes.
really briefly, and
Yeah.
also the kinds of artists that we're looking for.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We've tried to make the process as easy to access as possible and to waste as little time as possible for applicants. The first thing is an EOI with 3 quite simple questions. And what we are trying to do is provide as much information for artists to be self-selecting about whether they are the right people to make an application to come on board with this project. Strike a Light is a part-time organisation, and we primarily work with performance-based artists. That is where our skills and expertise lie. We have brilliant networks and contacts around theatre, around dance. We really know how to help artists find funding to make those pieces of work. We know how to network those artists into our contacts. So to help make this process smooth for artists and smooth for Striker Lights, we are asking for artists from those backgrounds to make applications. We are really aware that there are hundreds and thousands of other brilliant artists who practice in different art forms that mean they won't be eligible for this opportunity. But we know that it's much harder for us to work with a visual artist than it would be for, say, a dancer or a playwright or a theatre maker, because within our team, within our organisation, we do not have the skills and expertise in that field. So this isn't us saying your work isn't valid, this isn't us saying we're not interested in you. What we're trying to do is to make sure that as a team, we can offer the artists that come to work with us the best support that we possibly can. And the other thing is that, briefly, because I know this will come up, we're really interested in Gloucester. Our organisation is here for Gloucester and for the people of Gloucester, and so we are really asking quite specifically that the artists that come and work with us also share that interest. You don't have to live here, but we need you to be present here in some way. We need you to think about how you would like to embed part of your practice here, the kinds of communities that you would like to start having conversations with. But we're not asking you to move here, but to be thinking, do I live within a commutable distance of Gloucester? Am I going to have regular contact with Gloucester as a city? Does that feel like it helps my practice move forward and not hinder it? And am I genuinely interested in how my work interfaces with communities? Just to reiterate, there isn't a blueprint to this, and we fully recognise that we may get things wrong on this journey. The dialogue that we have through these information sessions will help us upload more information onto the website. We've got the benefit of Florence and Tom, who were with us for the last round, to help us, and we have been working with artists to consult about how to move forward with this new phase. And they will also form part of the selection panel as well. But yeah, we are going to break a few eggs. We will do our very best to listen, to be kind, to be compassionate, but we don't have the absolute blueprint of this is how you employ artists for 2.5 years to be artists and make their own work. So there's a bit of hand holding between us and the artists along the way. Okay, I'll stop.
No, that's great. Thanks, EJ. And I just wanted to add to that, we have, approaching this process, been consulting about the recruitment process. And for those of you who did it last time, you'll see it's relatively similar. The EOI we expect to be very, very prescribed. Where they had 400 people last time, it's likely to be more. So one of the reasons we're trying to make the criteria that we are working against really clear is just so people don't waste time over this process. And you'll see in the EOI, it's only 3 questions, and we're using that to help sort of shortlist then into a longer application process. And what we're really interested in that EOI is, what are you making, what are you doing, and how is that going to sort of translate over to the communities that we know and we work with, and how can we support each other? It's definitely a collaborative relationship that we're looking for, and we want to see that presence of the artists within the team.
We are really interested in how do we amplify unrepresented voices, and how do we think about who works within the Strike Alike team. So we are really interested in hearing from artists who are from global majority, from working class backgrounds, who are disabled, deaf, and from LGBTQ plus backgrounds. And we will send some more explicit links out on the Let Artists Be Artists page so people can read that. But we currently work with 4 community producers within our city. But that's not to say that those are the only communities that the artists that come to work with us could work with. But our 4 community producers are Halima Malik, and she works with the South Asian community, Philippa Smith, who works with some of the Black communities in Gloucester, Zarek Hanif, who works with the LGBTQ plus community and the refugee migrant community, and Katrina McGonigal, who works quite specifically with the Westgate Street community, who are a community that are mainly made up of adults in their mid-40s, some living singly, some as couples, many with additional support needs around mental health and disability. We are really keen to make sure that the artists that are working with us are paid properly. So I would absolutely discourage anybody applying for the full-time role as an individual and then sharing their salary. I would also discourage anybody applying for the part-time role and sharing their salary. This has absolutely got to be about, how does an artist get paid properly for doing the work?
Yeah, so it's 30 grand pro rata. So if you're full-time, you get that full 30 grand over the year. If you're part-time, it's 15 grand, because it would be 2.5 days. Obviously with PAYE, you get different benefits as well. So you'll have holiday entitlement with that, you'll have sick pay, stuff like that comes along. So in essence, 15 grand for a part-time role, 30 grand, and that's 2.5 days and 5 days a week.
Regardless of whichever the roles are, whether it's full-time or part-time, we want to have a relationship with you, and we want you to have a relationship with our city. If you only come to Gloucester once every 6 months, that's not working for us or for our community. But if you are here, I don't know, once every 2 weeks as a part-time worker, or once every week as a full-time worker, that would start to feel like it was constructive. I think it's really important for us that and how we are able to justify doing this to our funders, there's going to be benefit to Gloucester and to the people of Gloucester. So if you were thinking of making a fleeting visit, then that's not going to cut it for us. If it is highly problematic for you to get here because you live too far away, that makes travel expenses really difficult, that makes coming into the city a 4-hour trip. Those sort of things should start to ring bells in your mind as maybe I'm not the right artist to be doing this kind of work. But we're not going to be super prescriptive about how much time you should spend here, but we will be expecting us to have contact and for you to be visible and on the streets in the city of Gloucester.
So we don't have a predetermined number, but we can do it roughly on what we did last time. So I think we would have for the EOI, it yeah, might be around 400 that we get down to around to the application stage around. I'm looking at EJ because I can't quite remember. I think it's around 100. Is 100 too much?
No, no, we went from 400 applications down to about 129.
That's it. We don't give a lot of room in the EOI, and we're aware of that, and that might be quite frustrating. But we're also doing that because of managing just that many applications, but also to not waste anyone's time too much. So what we're trying to get to in the essence of that is firstly just to say we are being transparent in how we are judging it. That criteria, if you look on that yellow box on our website about the things we're looking for, that is what we'll look at when we look at these things. So we'll think about, okay, how are they going to work with communities? How would we work with them? What kind of art are they making? Is it art that we're excited by? Is it art that we can support? And that will come to it will always be read by at least 2 people in that group, and someone will be someone from Strike a Light, and there'll be someone else who is a partner or an artist to have that conversation. We can't guide too much about what we think should be in there to get through, because that would feel you know, that would be we didn't want it to be oh, we're going to put all these in because we'll get through. It needs to be authentic and it needs to be genuine, and that's what we're trying to guide with those questions, is leaving it quite open. So my advice, and EJ can add to this, but my advice would be to look at our 7 ingredients about how we make work, to look at that criteria, think about, how do I make work? How does it align with this? How does my art form make that best sort of inclusive work? And then try and articulate that and you can do it in Word, you can do it in recording, do it in whichever way suits you best, and then it will come through that process. It is very competitive, and I'm sure that your application was excellent, like many people's. And we have to make some tough calls, and that is what we'll reference to do that criteria.
The feedback thing was literally impossible. With 400 applications, it's just not possible for us to feed back. Even when we got down to the 129, that also felt extremely challenging to be able to offer individual feedback. So we are aware that there are shortfalls within this project. We are absolutely not saying this is the best way of doing it. We're just giving it a try. We're just seeing how can we make a difference if we employ an artist for 2.5 years. So yeah, I'm sorry if at times things might feel like they're too woolly or they're not direct enough, and we will do our very best to try and tailor things to make it easier for all of the artists that want to make an application. What's really hard at Strike a Light is that we have had to learn over the last 10 years about what our limits are and when it is the right time to say no. And that has been really difficult in a city that has a really poor arts infrastructure, that doesn't provide enough for audiences or participants. But we know our limits now as an organisation in terms of what our skills and expertise are and how much work we can deliver over a year. So we have got better for all the right reasons at saying no. So when we have listed those contemporary performances, we know that we cannot offer good support for artists like musicians or artists like visual artists, because we literally do not have that expertise in the team. And I think Florence would tell you that one of the good things about being part of Strike a Light was the underpinning that we were able to offer her. Florence, I don't know if you would feel happy to just talk a little bit about why your performance practice was well suited to Strike a Light and what we were able to offer to you.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think a big part of it was kind of like just on what you were just saying, EJ, about coming from a place that like has limited cultural opportunities and art, like stuff going on in arts and culture. I come from a town in Wiltshire, like smaller than Gloucester, but like similar vibe in that there's like just not much happening. I live in Bristol now, but that was kind of a big part of, I think, the like aligning. Like I'm from a sort of like a rural kind of working class community, grew up on a council estate, and always felt like I didn't really fit in theatre, and it wasn't for me, and it wasn't for people like me. And through like applying for Let Artists Be Artists and working with Striker Light, that was like one of the first times where I felt like, oh, actually, like I can just like be me, be my authentic self, and that felt like it was like celebrated and welcomed. Whereas for like 10 years or whatever prior to that, I'd like never felt like that. So I think, yeah, my work is always like trying to speak like to those communities, make work with like working class communities that celebrates them. Often talking about, it's often rooted in places that people feel embarrassed that they come from, I guess, like, which was my experience growing up, of like in a place where you're told it's like a bit shit, and like so you don't feel pride, or yeah, you just feel embarrassed really about where you're from. And so that's the kind of work that I try and make. So it felt like, yeah, it just felt like it was a good fit, it was a good match. I was connected with like GL4, which are like a sister organisation of Striker Light, and that are based on Matson, which is a big estate in Gloucester. And like, yeah, I just was like, I want to like just learn, and like what these people are doing is like sick. I was like fangirling them for ages before I applied. So yeah, it just felt like it sort of vibed. I wasn't having to like fit, like force myself or try and fit into like, it was like genuine. I think that's how it felt for me. Yes, I had like I was kind of like in the middle of like two projects that I was working on, like when I got the position. So one of those was like a one woman show, a solo show, that was kind of almost ready to like go out, I guess. So it had quite a long development process already. And it was sort of, I think when I started, we were just about to start touring it. So we then, and even like, regardless of if I'd got the position or not, we were like, I was like wanting to take that project to Gloucester and do work like with young people in the community around the show and around like the themes of the show. So that was like one of the main things I worked on. And then the other, which like doing LABA like really helped me do and believe that I could do it, and gave me like the confidence and expertise to do, which is that project is big, so it's still in development. So it was the opposite end of this. It's a massive, like big ensemble community theatre show that will be performed by young people. It's got like music, dance, vibes, energy, hopefully. But it's like it like will maybe have 30-40 people on stage. So yeah, we like had a lot of conversations around that, and the plan is to like, we're hopefully gonna present that with GL4 and in partnership with Striker Light. But that's, yeah, it's still in development. But it helped me like be able to dream, and in terms of scale, like just like jump up and do something like bigger. So I had those two projects I was working on already, and then yeah, like other stuff. But I think I just sort of did try and be like open to like what happened, what came out of the year, so other things happen. I wasn't like too predetermined, I don't think. I think there was an initial bit of time, wasn't there, where it was quite a weird feeling, like getting the thing and then it being like, oh, you can just like do what you want to do, like it not being like projects, yeah, like you've got to make a project, you've got to make a show. Like I was like mad productive in that time, like you said, EJ, but yeah, that's because it just gave me the like space, the time, and confidence and like belief. Like I'd only made I'd made like one show myself, which had still never gone on when I got it. So like I'd worked as an actor for a long time, but yeah, I was like early in my making my own work phase. So it helped me like believe in myself and my voice, I guess.
So Strike a Light are a non-venue based organisation. We have an office and that's it. We, as I said before, have got a very sparse ecology here in Gloucester, and part of what Strike a Light is trying to do is to help grow that. So you are not coming into a Bristol when you come to Gloucester. There are not art spaces around every corner. We do not see art on the street all the time. And gathering audiences here is challenging. So you are coming into a city that has a sparse infrastructure. And because we don't have a building, we're not going to be able to say to you, and here's the studio. But we do have a relationship with the university. They're not a funder of this project, but we have a relationship with them, and they give us rehearsal space over their closed periods at Easter and the summer. We have probably about 47 artists going in this summer to that space. We have a number of weeks that have accommodation attached to them, but not every week, and not every artist will get accommodation as part of the summer residency. And during the Easter time, there is no accommodation because the students retain tenancy of their flats during that time. So that's just a space offer. We have great relationships with other organisations in the city, and they are, a lot of them, non-theatre based, non-arts based, but we are able to broker those relationships, and I've seen some huge willingness from those different organisations to provide space at either really reduced costs or in kind. So it's not that it's impossible to make work here, it's just a little bit harder. Flo, I remember you talking about how important it had been for you to feel like you were part of a team, that you were able to touch base with us every week in our weekly team meetings, and that, you know, if you needed a bit of advice, then there was somebody on the end of the phone. Whereas John wanted to work quite independently and didn't need that kind of support from us. So there would be a bespoke conversation with you as artists as to what you kind of wanted from us, and how we would help that journey along. Whether you should apply for the full-time or part-time is a decision that you need to make as an artist based on your practice and the work that you're already doing elsewhere. So one of the examples that we've used to sort of help this out is if you're an artist and you want to apply for the full-time job, but you need to take 3 months to go and do a Specsavers advert, that wouldn't be funded through Let Artists Be Artists, because that is about that's not artistic practice. But we could negotiate some time where you might have a sabbatical, or you didn't get paid for 3 months because you want to go and do the Specsavers advert. So we're not saying don't do it, but what we are saying is that this funding won't fund you to go and do a Specsavers advert. It has to be about your practice as an artist. So if you know, for example, you've got a 6-month tour coming up, and there's no, you're already paid to do it, don't apply for the full-time job, apply for the part-time job. Florence, would it be useful for you to just quickly say about the other job that you had at the same time as doing this with Pentabus?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so I applied for part-time, and that's what I did part-time. Around the same time, I was offered a writer in residence position with a theatre company called Pentabirth in Shropshire. So I knew, and that was sort of similar. It was over a year, but it was part like they wanted you to be working there, writing there for 6 months. So I like split my time between the two. And that kind of, the Pentabirth thing allowed me, because I am a playwright, like I'm a playwright and a screenwriter. So some of, like quite a bit of my practice is just sat in a room on my own, like writing stuff. But so that allowed me to like focus on that, because then the other side of my work is very like collaborative, wanting to make stuff with communities. How do we like connect, engage with the people that we most want this to reach? So I like split my focus and my time between the two. Yeah.
We work with fantastic artists and find the space to host it. So we don't have to fit work into a building. We don't have to do it over a very specific season period. So we're really interested in who are the communities in Gloucester that you want to talk to. So I mentioned that we have 4 community producers. They aren't the only communities that exist in Gloucester. It's just that we've had to say no to working with absolutely everybody and have specialised in these 4 communities that we're offering really long-term embedded support to. But that doesn't mean you couldn't work with farmers or you couldn't work with young people at a particular high school. Yeah, don't feel bound by a theatre or a black box. We are absolutely about doing brilliant work in extraordinary places.
Thank you all so much for coming. We're very excited to do this. We look forward to seeing some amazing applications, I'm sure, from you all. So thanks very much and speak soon.